Hi, folks, this is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I am sorry I'm late. I got engrossed in the Turning Point USA, and I am so glad I heard Dr. Ben Carson's speech. He settled me down a little bit from my grumpy mood the other night. And also Steve Bannon got me fired up. So anyway, I appreciate y'all waiting for me. Much appreciated. How you doing, Wayne? Nice to see you. And I hope I didn't lose any thumbs up because I'm late. And Pappy Two Bears and Island Girl. Nice to see you. Yvonne. Lone Wolf's here. Yeah, everybody's rolling and good to see you. Darla, nice to see you. Todd, let me ask y'all something. I'm going to play something. See if y'all can hear this. You should be able to hear it. Let me see. I'm going to play something. I can't figure out how this thing's supposed to work. Can you hear it? Did you all hear that? Haha, television shows. Yeah, good stuff happening. That's right. No sound. Okay. You couldn't hear it. That's all right. There's some kind of screwy thing I got to figure out. But anyway, I was going to play the what was left of the Turning Point USA, but we can watch that on RSBN network. And boy, what a day! And a lot of different things happening. We're seeing sides of people we never thought we'd see. And Mike Johnson did go to the Turning Point gathering that they're having right now, wrapping up. But, I got my thoughts on Mike Johnson. He was with Trump in Mar-a-Lago. He was with Trump at the UFC fights. He was with Trump at the Army-Navy game. He was with Trump. So I think that he put this out to air their dirty laundry. That's why Johnson let him put all that stuff together. Everybody who saw what was in it was repulsed. Okay, even Democrats. Mike Johnson is not a stupid man. Okay, it was his job to repulse people. It was his job, I believe, to hey, we're coming to the finish line for chapter 1, okay? And we're getting right down to the core of what's the good Republicans, what's the bad Republicans, okay? I'm saying Mike Johnson knows when he put that big 10,000, how many thousands of pages was it? Or 1,500, I don't know. That people were going to be puked out. But there's names attached to it now. And within hours, they flip it around and put through something simple. Now, everything's got to get approved through the Senate, right? Remember the meeting Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer had with Trump in the White House in the Oval Office? Trump told him, I'll take it. I'll take it. You can blame the shutdown on me. And Chuck Schumer was sitting there with his elbows on his knees and looking at the floor. Well, now it's flipped around the other way. It's Chuck Schumer's in charge of the Senate. As much as everybody focus on Mitch McConnell, he's the minority leader. Chuck Schumer's the majority leader. He's the leader of the Senate. So if the Republicans get something through, Schumer will be the one to shut it down if he says no and kicks it back to the House with changes. He makes any changes and sends it back to the House, it's got to be voted on again. If the Senate approves it, Everybody's happy. Everybody goes for the holiday vacation, and the government stays open. So is it going to be Schumer shutdown? That's what I'd be talking about. You see this coordinated business they're doing now of blaming Elon for everything. Elon's really the shadow president. Trump is kowtowing to Elon because Elon has more billions than Trump has. What kind of when are people going to get aggravated with their intelligence being insulted with that kind of an argument? Anybody that knows Trump and knows Elon, knows the whole story, knows that that's not the case. Yeah, I want to thank Mike and Bev for going to buy me a coffee. It ended up working. So somebody did something. There was some kind of problem with the buy me a coffee, and nothing's happened for the past week. Gary chipped in last week, and other than that, Mike and Bev, it got shut down. I didn't know what the problem was, but it's working now. At least I guess it is, and I appreciate you all chipping in for me. I really do. So, so the ball is maybe in Schumer's court. I don't know. Did they pass this trimmed down proposal? I was so engrossed in these speeches at Turning Point, I didn't know. Tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow is the big day. Are we going to have a shutdown or not? And so what? So what? We don't need them. It's essential services are going to keep going. They always have. The government's been shut down dozens of times. And they always get, when things get worked out and the government gets opened back up again, everybody gets paid, even if they sat home for a month. Under Reagan, it's shut down for over a month. I don't want to say for sure how long it was, but it was a long time, and it didn't make headlines. The world wasn't coming to an end, and when it opened back up, people got a month off and got their full checks. It happens every single time. So what's all this boogeyman business? And the thing is, this time of year is a perfect time to shut it down, because look how many holidays they have, paid holidays. Anyway, guess what? Through Christmas and New Year's holidays, the government shut down. Oh my God, what are we going to do? It's like if these people don't check in. I was going to say if they don't show up for work, but now we know most 99% of them don't even do that. If these people don't log into their computer from their, poke their head up out of the fart sack at the crack of lunch to log in the computer, that what's that supposed to affect my life? So anyway, this is a good time for it to shut down anyway. We're at the 30-day mark. It's going to keep them from doing damage. Was it Pam Bondi who said shut it down, and that way they can't shred all their documents? Shut the shredders down. And when people say shut it down, it doesn't mean they're wanting people to suffer or wanting services to stop or anything like that. People in the know who have seen for 30 years, more than that, 40 years. I think the first government shutdown in modern era was 74. Gerald Ford. And I don't know how many times it happened under Carter, but I think it's happened under every daggone president at some point or another. We just don't want them using that to continue the abuses. So, hi, Sherry. How you doing? KNS, how you doing? Tammy, nice to see you. Yvonne's here. You know, I always go back to that infamous shutdown under Obama. When the impact, they were scaring people and scaring people. Oh, shut down, shut down, shut down. And I talked to a lady that was actually older than me. This was during the Obama administration. And I figured she had enough grasp on history to know that it wasn't going to affect anything. But it did shut down under Obama. And she came up to me and said, oh my gosh, the Social Security checks are going to dry up. And you watch what happens and the people are going to revolt. And I looked at her, I was like, what are you smoking? They keep collecting money. They keep paying things out. That's an essential item. It doesn't affect Social Security, but had herself in a froth. So in order to make the people feel it, because they weren't feeling nothing. Everything was going along fine. What does he do? He shuts down the World War II memorial. Open air memorial. Posts guards at the ends of the sidewalks leading up to the memorial and won't let elderly veterans go up and look at the brand new World War II memorial because the government shut down. Any other day you could walk right up and take a look at it. They could look for their friends' names. They could honor their comrades. And that's what he did because the government shut down. He ordered all the national parks. If somebody had a restaurant or a shop, a lot of people sell trinkets and, have a place where people get lunch or something while they tour the park. Wouldn't allow them to open their businesses. Nothing. Those were private businesses. But no, he did spiteful, hateful things like that. Wouldn't let the veterans go to the beaches in Normandy. You all remember that? He spent money to stop people from enjoying things that were owned by the federal government because he was just having a little hissy fit. And he can't stand the military anyway, just like Clinton. So then I remember the shutdown under Trump was at Christmas, and he was trying to work a deal, and he stayed by himself in the White House. And Melania and everybody went to go celebrate Christmas, and he held down the fort in the White House saying, I am here, I'm ready to make a deal. Of course they didn't. And but that was the same time and I talked about in the past, that there was an attempt on Trump. Okay? A rogue Marine was the story. So I know a lot of you heard me tell it, so I'll just say real quick, Trump tweeted out, I've never seen so many machine guns. And he was alone, practically speaking, family-wise, by himself in the White House. Of course, he had a lot of staff. He had his Secret Service, but also had the Marines are the president's own, okay? And they had to break out the big pew-pews for something that was going down. And anyway, So I don't know if you all got to watch Ben Carson, his speech, or Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, the big ex-con, right? He had to go to jail. He did his time, and he came out. He had a lot of fire in his belly, and Ben Carson did the conciliatory type, and he gave some hints, I believe, as to why we went through what we went through. I'll go over Ben Carson in a minute. But Bannon gave the meat and potatoes, He gave the meat and potatoes about the criminality and the need for retribution, biblical retribution, so this doesn't happen again. The extent of the fraud and abuse and deprivation of rights for the American people is unbelievable, ungodly. And it can't go unexposed, and it can't go unremedied. It can't go unaddressed, like it never even happened. No, it's got to be cracked open and shown. The rotten insides have got to be shown to everybody. And if we don't have punishments, we don't have laws, we don't have nothing. Okay. So, yeah, it's known. What's happened is known. And I was thinking, I remember a lot of you remember the 17 posts where they said, well, we can't take almost 90% of the government out of the civil society wouldn't hold up for it. It would be too much of a shock, and it wouldn't be the safest way to handle this. But 80 to 90% of elected officials are corrupt in one way or another, or corrupted. There's a difference between a person being corrupt and corrupted. Okay? Somebody that is under threat and behaves in a way to lessen the threat to themselves or their family are corrupted by exterior elements. Somebody pulling like a Bob Menendez, okay, who's just, like I said, treating the swamp like a hot tub, okay, they are corrupt. So, we're going through this process, I believe, of winnowing out ones worth keeping, which are, we've switched a lot out in the House and Senate. And now we're getting down to, are they good? Are they corrupt? Are they corrupted? Okay. Are they captive? Are they bribed? Are they threatened? Are they just dirty? Because all those things play a role. And we don't have a lot of time if we started from now to figure all this stuff out, to go through the process of trying people, and meting out the proper retribution. But that's why I believe this has been going on for years. The Biden administration was a lot of it evidence gathering, I believe. I believe documenting ongoing criminality and gathering evidence and observing new criminal activity. So Ben Carson said the 4-year business with Biden, he likened it to a surgery he was doing to separate conjoined twins. And he said, you know, I'm going to have to stop during this surgery, and we're going to have to let some healing and regrowth of neural pathways and, you know, whatever high tech somebody is talking about. And then we're going to have to come back later to finish separating these twins. I mean, they had their, I guess their sides of their heads were conjoined, and it was very intricate neural surgery. And he said it worked. It was, you know, if you get a chance, you know, listen to Ben Carson give his speech. And he said that that was what this interregnum, that's the term I'm using. I don't believe Carson used that, but the term interregnum is the hiatus, so to speak, of a sovereign. Okay, a hiatus. So the hiatus was necessary to create healing and regrowth in critical areas to complete the surgery. And when he comes back to it, he sees what's worth saving, what tissue survived, what you know, what didn't and needed to be removed, and continue with his operation. So, but the reason I'm glad I listened to Ben Carson, not because of that story only, I was glad to hear that story. He talked about how the left was saying, don't invite your family members who voted for Trump to Christmas or Thanksgiving. And he said that type of thinking is from the devil. You have to reach out with love, concern. Reach out. Don't chase. You don't have to chase people, but don't chase them away. If they want to leave you, don't hold them back, but don't push them away. And I was of a notion a couple of weeks ago, like I was like, you know, I'm sick of it. Dealing with these liberals. I even mentioned last night how somebody was being a sad sack and negative no matter what I told them. And I didn't outwardly show any disdain, but I sure felt it powerful. And that is the divider, okay? I mean, everything that we've been through, which is not near what Trump personally has been through, I can turn the other cheek for some snide comments or somebody hanging on to the narrative that Trump is evil, and be patient and not lose a acquaintance or friendship because I'm frustrated with their stubbornness or their inability to see the truth, because it will come. It will come. And so when I heard him say that, I said, you know, I gotta cool my jets, you know, because a lot of people can't take the time to learn all the stuff we've learned, pay attention to what they're doing on a daily basis. You know, somebody's sitting in traffic for 2 hours, getting off of work, want to get home and get their dinner. They have no idea what happened today with this bill they tried to push through, what Chip Roy did to make Trump put a strong message out about him. You know, they don't even know what's happening. And unfortunately, hopefully for not too long, when they do, go, all right, well, I want to know what's going on. What do? Turn on the news. CNN and MSNBC. And we know what kind of garbage they're pumping out, but they don't. They think it's information being given in good faith. So, I can't condemn the person who's been duped or defrauded, because they're a victim. They're a victim. Now, if they're purposely doing it, they know better, then that's another decision I have to make about the relationships I have with people. But if they're just being played for a chump, got to keep pushing for the truth and pushing people away. You'll never get through to them. Thank you, Kathy. Always hits a like button for Mountain Man. Appreciate it. Hi, Angela. Nice to see you. Wanda. Oh, you guys are talking about grandbabies. Hi, Lori. Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome is very real. That's true. That's true. So, anyway, we'll get down to talking about some more of the stuff that was going on. The other thing, I'll finish up with Ben Carson. He brought up a story about George Washington, and I've talked about in the past how I had a book from the 1700s, the history of which wasn't a state, the Commonwealth of Virginia. And my dad picked it up somewhere and had it for years. But anyway, I let the book go to somebody else. I wish I'd never done it. But he told a story about George Washington. That George Washington was considered bulletproof back in the day. He was a courier, and I knew that myself. And I remember, not the exact way Ben Carson told it, but I remember that George Washington, as we say, dodged a lot of bullets. And he was pretty famous for that. He had bullet holes in his coat, his hat. Carson said he even had fragments of bullets in his hair during the period before he became a general. He was a courier, a lieutenant, I believe. And there was an Indian chief who'd been through a lot of different conflicts, battles, and stuff like that, had gotten older and was in frail health. And he heard that George Washington was coming around the territory he was in. So he got his braves to take him to see George Washington. And he told George Washington, he said, I'm an expert shot. And he said, I know back in the day, and this is the number Ben Carson used. The chief said, I know for a fact that I shot you 17 times. And he said, I have no idea why you didn't fall, why you didn't get injured. He said, but I know there's no way anybody can tell me I didn't shoot you when I know I did. He said, and my braves were shooting at you so much to the point we were just wasting our ammo. And I told them to stop so we wouldn't waste any more ammo. And he said, you were being protected by the Great Spirit. That's the only solution. to that is don't waste some more ammo. He's protected by the Great Spirit. And he was discussing that in relationship to the attempt on Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania. And he said that story about Washington isn't being taught anymore in the schools. Had been taught for a long time, and that's very true. Our education system has been sabotaged, edited, deformed to the point where it's ludicrous. And we got to get back to the real history of the country, the real sacrifice, like what Ben Carson said, when a ragtag militia can, in a very short window of time in the eyes of history, become the powerhouse of the world, a civilization, and a way of life that was more advanced and more powerful than any in human history, started with a ragtag militia. And when's the last time a student was ever told that? What are they being told? They're being told things that are, in my opinion, insane for a person to knowingly communicate to a child. You would have to be insane. The alternative is evil to do that to a child. Now, I'm afraid I may have lost some viewers from my immediate position on the individual who assassinated the CEO of the United Healthcare. There's a strong undercurrent on both sides, left and right, about making a statement or getting retribution for the abuses of the system. I'm using air quotes, the system. You can't separate government from the healthcare industry, not anymore. Not since it was nationalized under Obama in a communist MO seizure of power and economic well, I can't think of the word, but it was a third of our economy. So it just seized by the government, no longer a private industry. I told a story a long time ago how I had cut the back of my hand very deeply. And this was the last time I had treatment from a doctor for many, many years. I was someone had broken a glass in the door, and I was pulling on a piece of glass to get it out so I could put a new piece of glass in. And I was taking the fragments out of the inside edge of the door frame. And I was pulling and pulling and pulling, and it popped out, and my hand flew back to the other side of the door frame where there was another jagged piece of glass that hit the back of my hand. And it was hideous, and I still have the scar. That was 30 years ago. And I said, oh my gosh. And I won't describe it to you, but it was hideous. And one of the very, very few times I said, I need to see a doctor. And I went to an old doctor. He's gone to his great reward, but he was close to 90 then. and still had his practice. And I went to see him. I won't say his name. I said, Doc, I cut my hand real bad. He said, they got new rules now. I said, the new rules? He said, yeah, you got to go to the hospital for something like that. He said, I can't do stitches in my office. Not for that, because it's gone through the skin and also subcutaneous and the muscle. And he said, something that bad, you're required to go to the hospital. If I don't want to get in trouble. And I'm thinking to myself, you're 90 years old, for crying out loud. Well, 88, I believe he was. And I said, well, listen, it's going to cost me $500 just to walk in the emergency room. And he said, I know. I said, well, what can you do for me? Can you do anything? I said, if I could do something myself, at least, I won't hold you responsible. I won't tell nobody on nothing. I mean, you know me for years. Can you help me out here? He said, yeah, I can help you, but it's going to hurt. I said, it hurts now. He said, this is going to really hurt. And I said, okay. So he had a habit of whistling, like just barely hear me when he was walking around his office. He's toddling around his office, opening drawers up and looking around. And he had bandages that were still in the package, new, but they'd been there so long. When you ripped open the package, the cotton was kind of yellowish. That's how old they were. But anyway, he got a stick out of a drawer that was probably about, I don't know, a foot long. And at the end, it had some white stuff on the end of it. I said, I wonder what that is. Well, anyway, he took a lighter out. This isn't all he did. He cleaned it. He looked at it. But he lit the end of that white stick, and that, or the white substance on the end of the stick. And I guess it was phosphorus. It just glowed really bright white and hardly any smoke. You could hear it sizzling. I said, man. So he said, turn your head. So I turned my head, and he cauterized it. No, I mean, not even a shot of whiskey. Nothing. And it did hurt. And he wrapped my hand, and I said, how much do I owe you, Doc? $40. So I gave him $40 and staggered out in the street. And that was the end of it. I didn't see a doctor, I don't think, for another 20 years or more than that. But that was the last time I went to see a doctor. Now, if I had gone to the hospital, I would have paid in the thousands probably. And everything's fine. I have a light scar there, but you can still see it. But I healed up and everything was fine. So anyway, how did I get to that from the United Healthcare? Now, try that now. Forget it. You won't find a doctor that would do that. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I've felt worse, been through worse. And it was my choice. I was going to go home and try to do something myself. And if he wouldn't have done anything, I would have gone and done something on my own. So the CEO carried the brunt of a system that has been destroyed bureaucratically. People making laws, rules, regulations A doctor has to pay insurance, which is outrageous. He's got to pay for his classes from and paying these universities that are we've already been over how they've been politically corrupted. I mean, who in the hell teaches doctors that you can change a gender? And you pay what, 150,000 to get that piece of paper hang on the wall? But now, what if I'd have said something about my friend, the doc? It took a lot of trust for him to do that for me, and I was grateful for it. What if I'd have complained? You know how many people that have law degrees could care less that man had delivered more babies in that county than you could shake a stick at, saved lives, made house calls. I mean, we're talking in the 1980s. He was in practice when you made house calls. He had a doctor's coupe. A doctor's coupe is a model of Model T that had a turtleback trunk on it, and windows and doors, and that's why they call it a doctor's coupe, because he could get out in the middle of the night and go somewhere, didn't worry about getting rained on or anything like that. I would have never done that to him. But there are people that would. And in this day and age, nobody would have not taken, well, I won't say nobody, but there are way, way more people that would try to make a buck off of a doctor doing something a little outside the norm. There's always people trying to sue. There's always attorneys that are encouraging it. Insurance companies have to defend against it. And it drives up the cost way more than anybody has any idea. So it's not just this guy from United Healthcare. He lost his life over it. And I still say that to come up from behind and do that to somebody is unacceptable under any circumstances. Unless, if you faced off with the person that they were going to hurt you to defend yourself, yeah, I would do that in a flash. Just like Burt Reynolds did in Deliverance with a bow and arrow. Hi, Mike. So anyway, for the people that feel that I was wrong in condemning what this guy did to the healthcare guy, you really got to look inside and say to yourself, do we want a society where an aggrieved person feels in any way, shape, or form you can ambush somebody and do that to them? We can't function as a society like that. Because look how many people get offended nowadays over things you can't believe. You misgendered me. So no, we can't condone that. And I remember somebody was telling me about a Bible story with, it was after Carter had said, Carter said he had committed adultery of the heart. And a lot of people say that helped him lose the election to Reagan because he lost the evangelicals. And what that is if you look at a woman and you imagine yourself committing adultery, that it is the same as doing it. And Christ had said that if you think of, in other words, plot, scheme, daydream about harming somebody or fornicating with somebody, you might as well do it. It's the same thing. So I have in the past, I've had people rip me off. I've had people enrage me. And I would say to myself, well, I'm going to go up to his house and take him out in the front yard and box his nose flat, And I'd be thinking about it. Yeah, I'm going to do it, And after hearing that story and realizing the point is, those kinds of thoughts are poisonous. They're a waste of time. They draw energy out of your body. They make your body create negative, hateful energy. And I'm sure in the eyes of Christ, it's visible. Somebody thinking about boxing somebody's nose flat for them, or kicking their rear end up the street. Or if you're really mad at them, you think of even more devious things. How can that be something Christ would want around him? People that think like that. Because remember, we're told there will come a point when Christ will look at you and he'll either say he knows you or he never knew you. Would Christ want to ever know somebody who thinks of such things and doesn't repent? So if my listeners that got frustrated with me are listening now, I'm only trying to think and do in the way that pleases God. And that is also helpful and beneficial for my own spiritual and mental health, is to not fall into a mental state of anger, hatred, and desire to harm others physically. The other thing that Ben Carson brought up was this nation was brought up by spirituality. The only reason it went from a ragtag militia to a civilization was through God. So that manifests itself in our laws, in our Constitution. The people that wrote the Constitution tapped in to a spiritual justice that is beyond normal comprehension. An understanding of what is just and what is not just in the eyes of God. You don't bear false witness. How much of our Constitution relies on the Ten Commandments? How much does our Constitution look at individuals and their rights and the defense of their rights? So there's going to be plenty of things about this CEO that got shot that we're going to be wondering about and watching and seeing what happens. But we got to get settled in our own minds the fact that what happened was unjust, and I don't think it pleased God one little bit. So we'll see what happens. But we find out that the CEO guy made decisions and moves that prevented a monopoly situation that on the face of it, you would say it was against his best interests and the best interests of United Healthcare. They could have gotten a monopoly and doubled their profits or tripled them, and he voted against it. Who knows what was in this guy's heart or in his mind, or what his role was. He was also set to testify about insider trading. I've already talked about how much lawyers and insurance companies tax our medical system, our so-called higher education, how much of a burden that places on our medical system, teaching a bunch of nonsense. But how much does that insider trading cost us? Stock manipulation. All the things that these people involved in these businesses do that doesn't have a damn thing to do with alleviating pain and human suffering. So, was this a very, very sophisticated way to eliminate somebody that was a threat to that system? We don't know what this guy's intentions were. I said before, I didn't know what his past was. I've never heard his name. I never heard him do anything to me. But the things I have heard is he could have been very disruptive to the system, the crooked system. He might have been bucking the system, and the system might have took him out. I read the 17th posts, what type of people they use. This guy was in therapy. This guy disappeared. His mother said 6 months before she last even talked to him, almost a year before she ever laid her eyes on him. What was he doing? Who was involved in? Who was massaging his brain, cultivating his thoughts? Now they're saying they have experts coming out saying he didn't act alone. I heard about the phone call business, that he was on the phone 6:30 in the morning with somebody on the cell phone. The video showed him. Well, wait a minute. You may have done it. I know I've done it. You see somebody coming by you don't want to talk to, you pretend you're on the phone, okay? Feigning a phone call makes you seem undisturbable, okay? Don't disturb me, I'm on the phone. Or don't mind me, I'm no threat, I'm busy talking to someone. He could have been feigning the phone call. But then again, he could have been in contact with a handler, a therapist, or whatever. Now they've taken it to federal charges. I knew that was coming. And I'll tell you why I knew it was coming. Because they were tossing Alvin Bragg's name around right after the shooting. Alvin Bragg's going to do this. Alvin Bragg's going to take care of it. Trying to polish him up a little bit. Even though he's corrupt, dirty, committed criminal acts against Trump, conniving with the Biden White House, Judge McCon. Oh, we're going to make him a hero. He's going to be so important and busy taking care of this terrible assassin. Don't you dare pick on Alvin Bragg. He's got a big job ahead of him. Not anymore. I don't want to quote Steve Bannon, but F you, Alvin Bragg. This prosecution is going to be handled under the Trump administration. There's no way they're going to get him trial before January 20th. The investigation will be handled by the Trump administration. And Alvin Bragg isn't going to use it as a shield. I knew that was coming. So we will see what comes of it. But I know that we have to stamp out and rebuke any media entity says, like Bernie Sanders, well, he shouldn't have done what he did, but there is no buts. There are no buts. Because I don't want to be walking down the street and some social justice warrior that's been listening to my broadcast feels that I need one in the back and that they're justified. So going on from that, we have this young girl who's no longer with us, Natalie, Samantha, I guess, was that her given name, Natalie, and the internet boyfriend, it turns out she had, called her Samantha, and she had Samantha on her name tag. I was talking about the picture I saw of her, one where she was taking side-by-side selfies. One where she just had a selfie, and then the other one where she had her hair tied back and was trying earrings on, as every girl ever born does at some point. They, want to see how jewelry looks on them, how their hair looks, But her mind was in turmoil. And what do we find out about her? We find out that she was a new student in the school. I don't know where she came from. I know a lot of times kids end up in private schools because they've had troubles in the public schools. Okay? You get expelled from a public school, and the parents have to enroll them in a private school. We know from her writings that there wasn't enough stability in her home for or desire, I would imagine, even that, for homeschooling. So she got enrolled in a private school. She said she'd been bullied all her life. Maybe she didn't get expelled, but they put her in a private school because she's getting beat up in a public school. Who knows? Public schools can be hideous. Hideous. We find out that her parents have been divorced and remarried 3 times. And the word on the street is they went for a 4th marriage, but a counselor or a judge or a juvenile and domestic relations judge or somebody said, oh no, 3 strikes, you're out. What kind of adults with minor children, I mean preteen, 8-year-old, 9-year-olds, can't control their emotions or act as a good example to the point where they divorce each other and remarry 3 flipping times? What kind of stability is that for a child's mind? I'm not making excuses for her. She was mentally ill. She had a stepsister, 5 years older than her, from somebody than her, other than her mother. Her father had a child with somebody else. So she had a step family, okay? Not stable. An emotional roller coaster. She had been going to therapy for years. One of her courses of therapy were to help her decide which parent she wanted to live with. And this is years before the incident. That's when you get into mommy loves you more than daddy. No, daddy loves you more than mommy. Pick me. No, pick me. Or worse yet, I don't want you. Go with your father. Or I don't want you. Go with your mother. How many of you in the chats remember your bedroom when you were a child? Your bedroom. How many of you, even after you left home, your parents kept your bedroom the way it was? How important were those memories and that sense of security in your development as a person? Your sense of safety, how you treated your children when you had children. It was a big influence, wasn't it? She didn't have any of that. She was a suitcase kid for years. Every 2 or 3 days, switching parents for a period of years and going through therapy at the same time. 2 or 3 days with dad, pack your bags, 2 or 3 days with mom. Oh, your stepsister that's 5 years older than you is staying at the house. So no, you don't sleep in that bedroom, you sleep in this bedroom. Who knows what was going on? Now, her dad might be a great guy. I don't know. But she said, people that are put on this earth, how did she put it? To drink as much as they possibly can in a day and smoke as much dope as they can in a day, every day. I've told many of you in the past that I worked with emotionally disturbed children, is what they used to call them. And I can tell you that's a recipe. That's a recipe for disaster. And who knows what else may happen that she didn't tell anybody about. She didn't put out her little manifesto, so to speak. Then come to find out she had a internet boyfriend. Remember I told you I went on her X page and it was only up for about 7 days or 8 days at the most, I believe, or she only posted. I think her oldest post was 7 days old, and then she did what she did, or maybe 8 days. So she really didn't have a social media presence. How odd is that? And I said there was a link to a hashtag to somebody who she was responding to, and I clicked on it. It was a name, and I've got a screenshot of it, and a bunch of squiggly lines that first I thought was Hindu or something foreign, but after I looked at it more, it's just kind of like maybe code or something like it. It wasn't a language. So they traced one came forward with the manifesto, lived overseas, called her Samantha. Come to find out, she had one, or her internet boyfriend, which she never met, lived in California. They have his name. They've contacted him. I'm sure they probably have had police at the house. And he's 20 years old. They know his name. He has no Facebook accounts anybody's found. No Instagram or anything like that. At least not what I've seen. And he lives with a 60-year-old man they assume is his father. And it turns out that it appears they had a pact, a you-know-what-aside pact. They had been communicating back and forth. So here is, apparently it started when she was 14, maybe even younger than that. She's corresponding with this 19, 20-year-old in California. That's where she was getting these videos of the Columbine situation. The video I told you about of the young guy doing target practice behind a barrel and then ended his own life. She had a video of it. So this guy got his house raided because there were communications that he was simultaneously going to commit his own act of violence. He had a pact with her that she would do what she was planning on doing, and he would do the same thing in California at the same time. And they would both go out in a blaze of glory. So how she didn't have a chance. Remember the New York Times saying it about who did they say? They said somebody didn't stand a chance. Oh, Lincoln Riley's offender. Okay, you know what I'm talking about, right? He got convicted. And New York Times said, well, he didn't stand a chance. A grown man doing what he did to Lincoln Riley. Well, I'm talking about a 15-year-old girl from God knows what kind of a household being influenced by God knows who on the internet. Since you were 13, 14, who knows what happened earlier than that in her life? There wasn't a scrap of hope or positivity or anything in those writings. It was all despair and a trapped mind. So what do we do about this? Karen, you got to be careful with that word, Kill. I don't think she was into computer games. No, I don't think she was on drugs. She didn't, she had a negative view of dope smoking because apparently, according to her, it could be wrong that her father overdid it. Parents, that are discreet, and maybe have a couple of drinks or go out and smoke a joint, behind the garage or something or whatever, and they don't, hold it under their kids' noses. They set a good example. But apparently this guy did what he did right in front of her, and who knows? How could you feel safe? How could you have an example to try to emulate? So, yeah, it's a recipe for a young mind to fall into despair, and it's called nihilism. Who in the chats came up with what the initials on her shirt was? Remember, I said, what are these initials? I forget them. I got a picture of it in my phone. I had all these stories I was going to go over, but we're up to speed on what's going on. I don't have to beat it to death about Neil Cavuto leaving Fox News. We saw that coming. I'll get into the situation about what's his name in Congress that everybody's shocked that Trump disciplined on Truth. What's his name? He talks like this. If I got to do this, I'm going to do that. And then we got to do this. What's his name? Anyway, I got some memories of him not treating Trump too well, but he was slick about it. Whatever his name is, I forget it. Yeah, she had some initials. It was KDM something. And somebody in the chats put it up that it was a German saying. It was a German saying, no mercy for the multitudes or something like that. Nihilist thinking. And that goes back to German philosophers and, Karl Marx and what's his name? Well, you had Nietzsche saying God is dead, and then somebody writes, Nietzsche's dead, said God. So, anyway, it's a nihilist philosophy, and you had a 20-year-old manipulating a 15-year-old's mind because he sure didn't go out and do anything. Did he do it as what he thought was some kind of warped prank? That may be the case. That might have been it. No pity for the masses, I think, was something like that. It's in the chats in one of my last broadcasts. Oh, they have a band with that same name. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that was the guy over in Europe or overseas. I said Europe. It could be might not be Europe. Overseas, the one she was in contact with. But the guy in California was definitely forming a pact. And of course, he knew about it right before she did it. And he was sitting at home eating Cheetos. He wasn't planning on doing anything. Well, there's going to be something come of that. But how far gone is our system and the internet, use of the internet, when you have children falling prey to any maniac anywhere in the country or around the world? Because the bottom line is parents are not going to check, especially with multiple children, everything, every bit of trouble and filth they can get involved with just because they possess a phone. I said it before. It's a doorway for every weirdo and prevert to get in the minds of your children. What are we going to do to stop that? I've called Utizzle a household app. And I can take clips of things, the filthiest language, descriptions, things that back in my day, somebody got in big trouble for saying in front of a kid. Now it's nothing. As a matter of fact, they use cartoon figurines. When you look at them, instead like you're looking at the yellow Punisher head pulsing. Well, they have a cartoon figure while they're talking. And it looks like something kids would be involved with, like anime or something like that. But then they discuss S3 actual things. Use the most vulgar language right on this platform I'm talking on. Karen's got it up there. Kein Mehrheit für die Mitleid. Keeping the same word order. Literally translates to no majority for the pity. Well, see, that's the same speech as Kafka. If you read a Kafka novel or story, people say it's like a Kafkaesque situation. That is, in Germany, it's a Schwabish way of speaking. And to some extent, they used it in Star Wars with Yoda, where he says, strong in this one is the Force, instead of the Force is strong in this one. In other words, it's kind of backwards, but it means the same thing. Saying things. So what it really means in a Schwabish or Kafkaesque translation would be no pity for the majority. Yeah. No pity for the majority. So anyway, so somebody was influencing her, and I know she was, 15 is not that young, but it's still, like I said, could have been going on when she was 13, 14. Stuff doesn't happen overnight. But the thing is, she was seeing a therapist for years and years. We're going to see what this guy, Luigi, his therapists, how come we never end up seeing the therapist notes for these people? Oh, okay, yeah. Sign language, subject first. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm talking about the difference between Schwabish and High German, and Kafka was spoke and wrote in Schwabish. So anyway, I appreciate you all listening to me. I don't know what you call it, musing or just a dive into what's going on. So I went from the hopeful, thoughtful stories of Ben Carson. We jumped right into Steve Bannon. And yeah, you might want to watch both those speeches. And when I went live, Don Jr. was talking, and Steve Bannon said his last sentence of his little speech at Turning Point was F-U, no, it was MSNBC F-U. And that was it. That was the end of his speech. But he brought up Trump 2028. F-U. So I was thinking, what are they going to say? That he didn't have 2 consecutive terms, that he could have a third term? But then Don Jr. got out and said, I thank you for the early endorsement, Steve Bannon. So maybe when they say Trump 2028, it's not Trump having a third term, but another Trump stepping up. Thank you, Kathy. I'm glad you enjoy it. So I don't know. It's definitely got the left on their toes. They don't know what to do about it. And I put in my thumbnail picture Elon Musk carrying his kid around, and he was at the Capitol carrying his kid around. His kid's got this wild little look on his face, looking all mean and like he's looking at something disgusting. And I had that thumbnail I made, and I didn't have a chance to use it, but I used it tonight because they're all doing all these different newscasters and podcasters, people on YouTube and whatever, all are coming up with the exact same words, trying to make it look like Elon Musk is really running the show, and trying to plant the seed in people's minds that Trump is just kowtowing to Elon Musk. And even Whoopi and Joy Behar were joking about Donald Trump. Don't go near the staircase, like Elon Musk might push you down the steps, you know. And that follows up with the video I showed of Pocahontas talking about how Elon Musk has a conflict of interest because he's got all this government contracts and everything. Well, like Bannon said, F you. They got their drawers in a bundle because Musk is speaking his mind. And we don't have three-letter agencies running Twitter, running Meta, and managing, air quotes, the message anymore on certain platforms. But you can tell that they certainly are coming up with a message on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, name it. And all these liberal podcasters whose audiences are dwindled down to just the very disturbed few that they got to try to hang on to. Well, they're all coming up with this business attacking Elon Musk. Kaputs. Kaputs means it's finished. Kaputs. It's kaputs. Or, yeah, not useful, no good, broken, yeah, finished. It's the way I always understood it to be. So anyway, we'll see how this develops with this business. Now, I have a story. I guess I'll put this on my when I have a picture show. Did you ever hear about this guy, Agent Nicholas Anthony Williams? Was an FBI agent who stole property from J6 defendants. He was convicted of stealing property from the homes of January 6 defendants. You ever hear of that at all? Agent Nicholas Anthony Williams. I'll have to check that out because they put a picture of the victim up of him. He's Asian, but if you just read the article, you would think that he was the agent, but he's a victim. They put a picture of the victim up. Boy. Anyway, while executing search warrants in his official capacity, his victims remain in prison while he awaits sentencing next year. So he's been convicted. He's getting sentenced next year while the people he was stealing from are sitting in jail. And this is an FBI guy. Nobody reports on it. I got this in an article called, a publication called Amuse. That should be all over the place. Trump said, good news for America. Neil Cavuto, the lowest rated anchor on Fox by far, is leaving. Should have happened a long time ago. Chip Roy, that's who it is. Chip Roy. I guess I'll read this to you. Chip Roy, what his situation, he's been a cop for years. He was in the military. When you have your military, you got to have attitude, and you let that carry on to your civilian life, and it you don't soften it. You get people that make snap decisions, then they're firm in their decisions, and they're not very flexible. They end up making mistakes. And politicians are a little more malleable and diplomatic with their words. Chip Roy is not, and it gets him in trouble. And he's got himself in trouble with Trump. Now, I know that he was for Ron DeSantis, and that very much disappointed Mr. T, and it disappointed me too. I never was enamored with Chip Roy. I didn't like his harshness. Hi, loves the garden. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I'm getting ready to wrap it up. I got people dropping off. I don't know why. But anyway, he was too harsh. He made snap decisions. He's inflexible, and he doesn't give a good look. Let me tell you right now what we're gonna do. Who speaks like that and all that? Polish yourself up a little bit. But anyway, Trump put out the first one he put out, the very unpopular, air quotes, congressman from Texas, Chip Roy, is getting in the way, as usual, of having yet another great Republican victory, all for the sake of some cheap publicity for himself. He's an egoist. I mean, he's got a big ego. And quite frankly, he doesn't know his place. So anyway, Trump goes on to say, Republican obstructionists have to be done away with. The Democrats are using them, and we can't let that happen. Our country is far better off closing up for a period of time than it is agreeing to the things the Democrats want to force upon us. Biden is president, and it's his obligation to properly lead. We're there to do the right thing, and we can't agree with what Biden and Democrats are demanding. And he's got more to it. I'll read it in a minute. But it's like Bannon said, there is no negotiations. Why would you sit down like what I said with Bernie Sanders? There is no buts. Why would you sit down and try to hammer out something with a bunch of people? A lot of them are going to be the hell out of office. That's going to impact Trump's first year. Cripple him. Why would you sit there and do that? You're either a plant or your ego is so big you can't see past your nose. And either one is no good. Weak and ineffective people like Chip have to be dismissed as being utterly unknowledgeable as to the ways of politics and making America great again. Put, quote, America first and go for the victory, even if it means shutting government down for a period of time. We had an overwhelming victory just 4 weeks ago, and we're not going to let the Democrats forget it so quickly. That's right, Chip. Why would you give them the flipping time of day? And that's why I think Mike Johnson went through the motions and went through the exercise, so you expose and flush out people like this. If he hadn't done this, or done things behind closed doors and came up with the latest one we saw trimmed down that Trump agrees with. If he hadn't publicly put up the first one, we wouldn't have this kind of exposure. Y'all, you guys see what I'm saying? Don't be too rough on Mike Johnson. He's doing an exposure operation, I believe. And then Trump put out another one that says Chip Roy is just another ambitious guy with no talent. By the way, how's Bob Good doing? I hope some talented challengers are getting ready in the great state of Texas to go after Chip in the primary. He won't have a chance. So that's some pretty strong words, unequivocal words. Apparently, Chip Roy has been a boil on the behind of MAGA, and nobody's really, the general public hasn't known about it. They watch the videos of him picking up a protester and walking the protester away from Lauren Boebert. Remember that? Was it Lauren Boebert? Acting tough. When he gets up there and says, I want to see you all go to jail for what you've done. Everybody, oh, Chip Roy's so great. He's so tough. But then he's sitting there getting all mealy-mouthed and milk toast with a bunch of criminals that are getting thrown out of office and risking. Trump's the one who put his life on the line. Trump's the one who put his family in danger. Trump's the one that's been battling for 8 years to get in there. And you're going to have this, quote, congressman be an obstructionist towards what Trump's trying to get done? And if I had anything to say to Chip Roy, I'd say you don't know your place. And you haven't got a good sense of purpose. And if Trump's down on you, I'm down on you. If Trump's got a problem with you, I got a problem with you. Is that too harsh? Trump said, the United States will cut hundreds of billions of dollars in spending next year through reconciliation. And what is the other word behind reconciliation? Impoundment. Trump is going to institute existing powers that have been dormant, either through ignorance or fear, that have not been used, that are available to the president, that are going to boggle the mind. And there won't be a need to raise the debt ceiling because we're going to save so much money through Doge, through impoundment, through reconciliation. We're going to raise so much money through tariffs. People won't believe what's going to happen. That wasn't him. That was Higgins, sheriff of Texas. What do you mean, Wanda? What wasn't him? Yeah, my Faith by Nation. Mike's playing cards with him. He's playing cards with him. So anyway, what did Higgins, sheriff of Texas, do? Wanda, I don't know what you mean. There was a protester that was disrupting Lauren Boebert's little speech, press conference, and it was Congressman Chip Roy that escorted him away in a rather physical manner. You're saying Clay Higgins did that? They weren't on stage, they were outside. This is Higgins might have done that on a stage, but this was outside on the sidewalk. Maybe I've got it wrong, Wanda. I'm just saying that, people see tough words, tough speeches, and they go, "Oh, this guy's got to be on our side. He's got to be MAGA." No, it doesn't mean they are. I've met plenty of liberals, especially retired military, like a old retired colonel. They think that everybody's supposed to get up and salute, even though they haven't been in service for 20 years, and they have the most liberal thinking, and they're gruff, tough acting, and still think they're in charge, and they're liberal. Kind of like Mark Milley. We will take care of the human traffickers. And he gave that speech during the COVID thing where Trump launched that operation. And Milley gave us a statement to the press, and you thought, "Oh my gosh, this guy, wow, he's another George S. Patton." Well, the next thing you know, he's talking all this Gans Trender stuff. Hi, Devin. So anyway, Chip Roy stepped in it. We'll see what happens to him. We'll see what happens to him. Neil Cavuto, did y'all see him sign off? I got a bunch of quotes from it shows how they are working to build this narrative anti-Musk. Get everybody anti-Musk. Jamie Raskin called Elon Musk the fourth branch of government, that he's controlling Trump. And then you had Whoopi Goldberg joking with Joy Behar about Elon pushing Trump down the steps. And then you got this loopy Congresswoman, Rosa DeLauro. She's got purple hair, and she's got a nose like Klinger from MASH. Remember Klinger from MASH? Had that beak sticking out, and she calls him President Musk. She's got purple hair, talking about somebody. Hakeem Jeffrey says the Musk-Johnson proposal is not serious. It's laughable. Extreme MAGA Republicans are driving us to a government shutdown. Well, get lost. We don't need a bunch of criminals and a bunch of morons to get through our day. I could care less. But really, if they shut the government down, Trump should do what Obama did, but in reverse. Obama sat there and sent uniformed officers out to prevent elderly veterans from going to open air monuments. Trump should do the same thing and prevent them from going in their damn offices and shredding their paperwork at the Justice Department and the FBI, shut the building down and put armed guards in front of it. But Trump's not in office, so he can't do it. And Joe's going to let them do whatever they want. The New York Times and the Wall Street Journal both put out articles
saying everybody knew basically that Biden was finished the first day he went in office. His brain wasn't working right. That's an admission of some criminal business going on. And who said it? It was, I forget who said, might have been Bannon, said that they need their broadcasting licenses revoked and they need to be shut down. We have had this country being run by an unelected cabal of puppet masters. It wasn't Joe Biden. We were lied to, on top of all the other crap we've been through. So anyway, a half an hour ago, I was going to sign off and I started babbling. So anyway, I appreciate you all spending your precious time with me tonight. I really do. And I appreciate everybody who's gone to buy me a coffee, everybody who's gave me a thumbs up. And if you didn't like the broadcast, give me a thumbs down. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. Hit the notification bell so you can either participate in the chats or just watch the chats go by. And I'll be broadcasting, I guess, again tomorrow night. We'll see what develops. We'll see what Mr. Roy does to patch up his little dinghy out there in the ocean with Trump blew a couple holes in the bottom of his dinghy. He's got to patch up. So we'll see how it goes. So anyway, folks, you all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.